The new Iranian F-14 Tomcat seems to have been taking over the game the past couple of days. And all I mean by that is that it is absolutely everywhere. The spam is in full force, which is something you'd expect. Let me know in the comments down below. Let Gaijin know in the comments down below. What do you guys think of the Iranian F-14 as an event vehicle? Do you think that it's a good fit for the game, for what an event vehicle should be? Do you think that we should have had another attacker for the 6th time in a row? Let them know in the comment down below. But today we're taking out the MiG-29 in sim battles. Why the MiG-29? Well, it's because you get R-27ERs at the same battle rating as the Iranian F-14, and if there's going to be one thing that's going to save us from the Iranian F-14's AIM-54 spam and FACOR 90 spam, it's going to be R-27ERs, and man, let me tell you, they did just that. I had an absolute blast flying out this thing, but that's also largely due to the fact that today's video is sponsored by the DPVRE4 virtual reality headset. Let's take a look at the DPVRE4. This was sent to me obviously by DPVR. It comes in this really nice big old box. Out of the box you will get a headset, 2 controllers, some earbuds, and a lot of cables. The controllers are nice, very similar to what you'll see on other headsets because they're kind of universal, and that is a good thing. If you're switching between brands, you want to have the familiarity of these controllers, so absolutely no complaints there. And my initial impressions are that this is a very good looking headset. It has a nice little mirrored glossy finish on the front, and there is some RGB on the front too, and it's actually powered on, as you can see on the box. Adjustment knob on the back, adjustment strap running along the top, pretty standard stuff. And I do find this headset to be a good bit lighter than the other couple of VR headsets I have used in the past, which is a big plus in my opinion. You'll also get an interchangeable eyepiece. This one is a lot more squishy than the one I have on right now. It feels pretty nice if that's more of your speed. I have the kind of fake leathery feeling one on right now, and that one served me just fine. A little integrated headphone jack onto the actual display cords so that you can use the provided earbuds if need be. But my favorite feature without a doubt is that this headset flips 90 degrees up while it is on your head. That is pretty cool and very useful. There's many times where that came in handy, especially on the non-VR dedicated games like War Thunder, so it's a really cool feature. If this headset interests you throughout the video, click the link in the description down below and you will find a cute little discount link. I'd really appreciate if you use that. Alright, now back to War Thunder. As a lot of you know, I'm not a huge sim player. I am getting into it, thankfully, just really because of these product sponsors, so I hope they're not annoying you guys because it really is helping me enjoy sim and get into sim battles. With that being said, I'm not the most knowledgeable guy when it comes to sim battles. I'm probably not somebody you should be listening to for advice on the game mode, but I'm just going to talk about my experience in sim, and specifically with the MiG-29 today. And having a VR headset, specifically the DPVRE4, I'm just going to call it the E4 headset, it just felt natural in simulator battles, and it was a really good time. Granted, when you're playing in VR, you're probably not going to be able to reach your keyboard that easily, so do make sure all of your necessary controls are bound to your HOTAS. E4 headset can go up to 120 frames per second and up to 4K resolution, so it does actually look pretty smooth when you're playing War Thunder, even though the game wasn't even designed around VR. It's a very lightweight headset, which is good if you're going to be playing for a while, and in a flight sim and simulator battles in War Thunder, you're definitely going to be there a while. And a couple of features that I found particularly useful that other VR headsets oftentimes do not have is one, this one can flip up while you're wearing it. So if you need to see your monitor real quick, you can just flip up the VR headset while it's still on your head, click what you need on the monitor, go to a different page or like Google or something like that, and then flip it right back down. And also these sensors, like the cameras on the headset, are positioned extremely well, very well thought out, and I can have the controllers pretty much anywhere I want when I'm playing VR games. I actually had a buddy playing with me, and he was talking about how his headset has some dead zones where it won't see his controllers. That was not the case for me at all with the E4 headset. Also, my girlfriend tried it out and she has glasses and it worked just fine, so if you have glasses, don't worry about it. If this headset interests you, use my link in the description down below and you can actually get about $35 off of your order. So up until this point, I'm just kind of using R-27ERs in my MiG-29. I've bagged myself an F-14 and an F-4S. Then I had to RTB and I didn't think you guys would care, so I just skipped over it and left that part out. And let me tell you, watching this footage back reminds me of one thing that I noticed right away while playing VR, is that you get an appreciation for the airplane itself. If you look at the screen, A lot of speed ranges in the MiG-29 are extremely bumpy, and it's probably like that for most of the airplanes. They probably get quite bumpy as you're in the transonic area, or if you're going extremely fast and about to rip, or if your landing gear are out. Sure, this happens to everything, but I just feel like it happened even more with the MiG-29, and I felt it a lot more when I was in VR. So it kind of is a little more realistic in that sense, and I just thought it was pretty cool because the MiG-29 is known for being a cheaper workhorse type of plane, whereas, you know, the US ones are like luxury cars. So I don't know, it's just cool feeling that in the cockpit with a VR headset on. And this was most of my gameplay the entire time I was in sim, rinse and repeat R27 launches on F4Ss and F-14s. I just shoot the two R27s off RTB, try to find other people to engage with, and that's just because this missile is still just superior to everything at this battle rating, so it really makes it easy. If they don't go full defensive, if they try to shoot their own missile, if they're somewhat offensive, I'm going to kill them, and there's nothing they can do about it, and that's a pretty good feeling. And here we go again with the cheap, bumpy MiG-29. I'm supersonic. It does not like sitting in that speed range. It's kind of throwing me all over the place right now. I hope you guys aren't getting sick. I surely wasn't at the time, but it was a little bit annoying. And it's at this point I kind of thought, maybe I should just slow down so I don't have to deal with the shaking all of the time. We're really evolving as a species with these genius thoughts, aren't we? Anyways, another target locked up here. This guy actually is going to fight me, and it's going to be pretty fun. I'm going to shoot an R27 at him. He's going to shoot a Phoenix at me. I think we all know how that's going to turn out. I just start cranking a little bit, last second, pull in or pull really hard away from the Phoenix or into the Phoenix, and it's not going to hit me. Meanwhile, he's going to not fully defend against this R27, and he's not going to try to notch it or anything like that, and he can't do anything about it. He cannot outroll the R27 that easily. Maybe he can if it runs out of its motor and it's slowing down a lot, but most of the time the R27s be cooking way too fast for you to get a chance at rolling that thing. I just rolled his Phoenix, may have been two Phoenixes for all I know. We recommit just in case we have to shoot another missile at him. And it turns out we do, because the R27 just did severe damage instead of killing him. So we're just gonna go finish him off with an R60. Speaking of R60, that reminds me of another feature that I really enjoyed about having the E4 headset for this simulator playthrough, and that is that the helmet mounted sights of these airplanes, specifically Russian ones, because, well, they're just more common on Russian ones, I feel like, they feel very realistic. Where you point your head is exactly where the helmet mounted sight reticle actually goes, which is how it works in real life. So it makes it feel very cool and very authentic, and something that really only VR can provide. That being said, I do wish I would have found myself in more close quarter engagements in this session that I had of sim. It just didn't really happen, and that's probably just the way it always goes, especially in sim. There's a lot of BVR and there's a lot of radar missile fighting. You can't really close the distance all that easily, and if you can't close the distance and get into some kind of dogfight situation, you're gonna have a really hard time deploying these short-range IR missiles. And so pretty much all of my engagements with the MiG-29 went like this. I would take off from the airfield, get 2 free R-27ER kills, and then I'd either decide go back to base and get more R-27ERs, because that's pretty much the only way I'm going to be competitive, or I can try to close the distance and get some of these cool VR R60 HMD shots. And I did try, because it is really cool using the HMD in VR. I can't emphasize that enough, but every time I tried, I would just get slammed out of the air by a radar missile before I could actually close the distance and get within range. I did try to notch. It didn't work out too well. I ended up getting shot from 2 directions and then died. And I did try to multipath, and unfortunately the F-14 90's warhead is just too big to reliably multipath. Took splash damage on that, and at that point I just gave up and went back to going to the radar missile meta. And with some VR headsets, if you were to try to multipath, of course that means you're hugging the deck and flying really low to the ground. If they don't have the resolution and the frame rate to keep up with what you're doing, it's going to kind of give you a headache, the way it looks blurry and the way it's moving across your screen. I didn't find that to be the case with the DPVRE4. It's very smooth. 120 FPS 4K resolution helps a lot with that, I feel like. And so I never really noticed terrain or resolution or frame problems, any combination of things like that. It was a very smooth and enjoyable experience. Or if you don't want to run it on that high of a setting, you can always change that in the software for DPVR. It's called DPVR Assistant, and it is a very good software. It's very easy to use, extremely simple, and that is something I really appreciate because some of these softwares on these products just, they annoy me. They're very complicated. Sometimes I struggle to get them working correctly, and I do appreciate easy to use software like the DPVR Assistant. Downed another plane with the R-27ER. We're shooting our second R-27ER on this takeoff, and he's within 20 kilometers, so he's pretty much dead unless he goes full defensive and starts notching and chaffing. Or maybe if he's lucky, he could multipath, but he just doesn't do any of those options and instead just eats the R-27ER, which I'm certainly not going to complain about. There are ways you can not die to radar missiles, especially so if the launch was outside of 10-15 kilometers. You have ample time to make the correct decision as far as staying alive and avoiding death from that particular missile, but a lot of people just seem to ignore it. Maybe they don't have the RWR that they need to actually take the proper action. That could be the case, and for that reason I really do appreciate having a good RWR ever since Gaijin made those RWR changes. But either way, when you're getting shot from within 15-20 kilometers, you should be able to see the missile trail still and kind of realize that it's coming your direction and just take defensive measures anyways. And here's one of the situations I was talking about earlier where I'm staying low to the deck trying to multipath these Phoenixes. As I get close to this guy off of my nose, I have no more R-27s. I'm gonna just try to get within range to get an R-60 kill and multipath all of his incoming missiles. The water, as I said, was looking just fine through VR with this DPVRE4 headset. I really appreciated the high frame rate because sometimes it does annoy my eyes when I'm flying low to the ground and things are moving across the screen that quickly. And so given that VR is never as smooth as a monitor no matter what in the first place, I do feel like 4K 120 FPS is kind of a necessity, and it's good that this headset was capable of that. As I close the distance here though, unfortunately my plan doesn't quite work out as well as I had hoped. Just another one of those sim hurdles where flying the plane low to the ground is a lot harder than air RB, and so I multipath a couple missiles. When I think I finally multipathed all of them, I pitch up a bit, and it turns out he still had one in the air, and I'm going to be eating that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this sim gameplay in VR. If you guys are interested in this headset, you can use my link in the description down below and get yourself a little discount for the time being. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you.